Thank you for joining us here at Doctor's Nutrition. Today, Dr. Janine and I are going to be talking about some things in the cardiovascular world that you need to be paying attention to.
Right. Things that you don't want to ignore when it happens. And we see a lot of people always want to think nothing's wrong. So they might ignore things and signs that they're having, and it may be pointing to cardiovascular risk.
That's a fact. One of the problems that we see in a lot of people, just like she said, they think I'm fine. I'm okay, 10 feet tall and bulletproof, right? Well, maybe not quite, okay, and that's the issue. And especially if you've had something like maybe you're pre-diabetic or diabetic.
Right. That's a huge risk factor for cardiovascular disease, both stroke and heart attack, is if you're diabetic, because that diabetes, the sugar that's in the bloodstream, damages the inside lining of the arteries. And people don't realize that that's what things start with, is damage. You damage the inside lining of the arteries and vessels, and then the body has to start laying down plaque. So the body lays down plaque in order to try to protect it. But in turn, you get too much of that plaque, then you can get a blockage. And so some of the things that you'll see as people start getting blockages is just, for one, overall fatigue.
We get that complaint a lot.
But the people that usually is cardiovascular, they know something's wrong.
Yeah, they have this feeling, if you will.
Yeah.
And, I know guys, a lot of guys are just not in touch with their feelings. Well, you need to get in touch with your feelings. If you feel that something's not right,
get it checked out.
Get it checked
it might
out
not
quick.
be, but you're better off being safe than sorry, like everybody's always said. So if you're having any shortness of breath, shortness of breath can actually be definitely cardiovascular. Now, it could be congestive heart failure. It could be blockages. It could be, there's a number of things that it could be. So again, you want to get that checked out, and you don't want to ignore that type of symptom. Shortness of breath, do not ignore. Chest pain, do not ignore.
Yeah. Yet we have people come in all the time and tell me that they're having a little shortness of breath when they try to do it. Well, it only bothers me when I try to do this or try to do that.
What we hear a lot is it's only when I exert myself. Well, that is a big, big sign that there's something wrong cardiovascularly, is pain on exertion.
Yes.
So anything that you do that's a little strenuous, if you get chest pain from it, get it checked out. Do not wait. Do not wait until you have a heart attack. You're always better trying to prevent.
Yeah. Now, something along that same line. Let's say that, okay, well, I can exert a little bit, even just some minor stuff, and I don't get shortness of breath, but I sweat profusely.
Yes.
I mean, it's like it's just pouring out. Okay, there's your sign.
There's another sign. Now, some people just sweat more, but it's usually heavily. So if you are sweating profusely, you're having, shortness of breath on exertion, you're having pain in the chest on exertion, you're having, if a woman a lot of times has jaw pain and even left shoulder pain, and they don't have the typical symptoms. And for all you men out there, erectile dysfunction. They do know that ED actually is the first sign that you probably are having a little blockage in that artery.
Well, it's a very small artery that feeds the penis anyhow. Extremely small by comparison. And when it starts to be blocked up for whatever reason, or diminished blood flow they're telling you that it's probably diminished blood flow in a lot of other places in the body, and the heart itself could be one of those places. Therefore, it could easily be, and we've seen, time and time again, people, that was their first sign for a guy, would be the ED. They didn't think anything about it, got the Viagra, the Cialis, whatever, and everything was okay for a while, but then all of a sudden they have a heart attack. And you talk to them later, and they'll say, well, I didn't have any signs or symptoms. Yeah,
but they really did. And so if you're having some symptoms and some signs, don't ignore it. If something is not normal for you. Like I said, I had a guy come to me not that long ago, little, very thin, runner, looked perfectly healthy, in his 50s, but he was fine. He kept saying when he ran fast, which he had done his whole life, he had chest pressure. And so he did go to a cardiologist. They did a stress test. It was normal. They did an EKG. It was normal. He came to us and did the full lab work, since it's stuff that's not checked at doctors. It was actually fairly normal. But as I was talking to him, he said, it's just not normal for me. And when I could tell by the way he knew something was wrong. And I said, okay, let's do a calcium score. Calcium score is going to look and see if there's any plaque buildup in the arteries. And when we did the calcium score, his was in the 600s, which is pretty high. And then we sent him back to the cardiologist. Cardiologist then did a heart cath, and they did find blockages. Actually, blockages to the point where they couldn't fix it at the time. They had to send him to a specialized cardiologist to fix it. So here was somebody that really, he knew his own body. He knew something was wrong. And I believed him. I was like, because I could tell the guy was serious when he said, this just isn't normal for me. And I said, well, let's just do this final test, even though I didn't think it was going to be a problem. But to give him peace of mind, it's worth doing. And in his case, it saved him because it did show a problem. So if you feel like something is wrong and you don't know what it is, but you just don't feel right, keep at it until somebody figures out what it is.
I'd say that's probably the best advice we can give anybody, really and truly, is
you know yourself better than anybody else.
You do. And, we get an awful lot of these complaints of these just minor problems. And eventually that person will wind up having a cardiovascular event. Now, by that, we're talking about heart attack and stroke. And that's not something you want to experience. They're very hard to get over.
Right.
And can be very difficult. Even the minor things, don't ignore it. No matter what, don't ignore it. You're not a sissy. Take care of yourself. You want to live.
Yep.
That's the key.
So don't ignore things. Get things taken care of, and don't wait until something happens.
Be sure and subscribe. Hit that like button if you got any good information out of this video, and we'll see you in the next video.